Hey, let me ask you a question. Since when did reading food labels become interpreting a foreign language? It seems like food manufacturers use misleading tricks to convince people to buy highly processed and unhealthy products all the time. The gaps in food regulation policy also are not making it any easier for us consumers to understand them, and it also, frankly, allows them to continue. That's why one of my first tips for food shopping and reading labels is, frankly, to just completely ignore the claims, straight up ignore them on the front of the box. The front labels just try to lure you into purchasing the products by making these health claims and these bright, beautiful colors to attract your attention and your eyes. And they're tricky to read, and they're designed that way because guess what? The more you believe them, the less likely you are to get curious about the label and read the ingredients on the back, which is playing right into their hands. So they often use these health claims that are misleading and in some cases downright false. Examples of some of these claims are those hard healthy claims on these yellow industrial processed vegetable oils. So the next time you go to the store, read the side label on one of these oils for the tiny disclaimer and you'll see what I'm talking about. Also, high sugar breakfast cereals being advertised as whole grain. No, not whole grain. It's processed and it's broken down. Yet when they add the three pieces of the grain back in separately, technically they're allowed to call it whole grain when it's not even close to whole. So despite what labels imply, a lot of products are not as healthy as we think. And this makes it harder for us consumers to choose healthy options without a thorough inspection of the ingredients list. And that's why another point to keep in mind is that the product ingredients are listed by quantity, meaning from highest to lowest. So that means the first ingredient that you see listed, the manufacturer used the most of in that particular food. So a good rule of thumb is to scan the first three ingredients, or maybe four, and because those make up the largest part of the food that you're eating. If these ingredients include any type of refined grains, flours, processed sugars, or hydrogenated oils, you can assume that that product is most likely unhealthy. And also stay away from hydrogenated oils. They're common in processed foods, snacks, cookies, peanut butters, and solid margarine-like products. Also, an intentionally misleading practice on the ingredients list has manufacturers naming sugar by countless names, like into the hundreds. Many of you probably won't even recognize because when the sugar amount is split up, you don't notice it, but the amount is exactly the same. So to avoid accidentally consuming too much sugar, watch out for the various names of sugars. They do this by listing various types of sugars. We're talking about beet sugars, date sugar, coconut sugars, invert sugar, organic raw sugar. Sugar is sugar. And also, if you see syrup anywhere, that's code for sugar. Agave syrup, bran syrup, rice syrup, any kind of syrup. Then they add stuff into it like molasses, cane juice crystals, lactose, corn sweeteners, straight up fructose, fruit juice concentrate, disaccharides, and maltose. All those are codes for sugar. And when the hell did this turn into a damn chemistry class? We're just trying to eat. So if you see any of these ingredients in the top spots on a list or several times throughout the ingredients list, that product is high in sugar. So the best way to avoid being misled by product labels is to simply minimize or avoid processed foods altogether. Whole foods don't need an ingredients list. Instead, try choosing items that have foods listed as the first three ingredients. Also, an ingredients list that is longer than 2 or 3 lines suggests that that product is highly processed, regardless of what the ingredients are. So aim to look for products with a short ingredients list and be skeptical of ones that you don't recognize or long lists in general. Also, serving sizes are so important to pay attention to. Nutritional labels state calories, nutrients, salt, sugar in the product, but for one serving. And we need to know how much that one serving is. And frequently they make them much smaller than we tend to consume in one sitting. Classic examples are a half a can of soda, a quarter of a cookie, half a chocolate bar, or a quarter cup of ice cream on the back of a Ben & Jerry's. Who eats that little? In doing so, manufacturers try to deceive consumers into thinking that the food has fewer calories and sugar, when in reality, we're consuming 3 or 4 times the amount that we intend to. And many times, they sell identical products just with different serving sizes on the labels in order to qualify for low fat or low sugar. So these are tricky, and we need to be aware of this. So you see, serving sizes listed on a package may be misleading and unrealistic. And manufacturers often do that because they know that people consume more than that in one sitting. So in summary, be aware and be a good consumer. Observe, read labels, read the ingredients list, skip the fancy marketing labels on the front, because if it was healthy to begin with, it wouldn't need marketing. Thanks for watching this video, and if you haven't checked out my video yet on the many health claims on these food packages on the front that I've been alluding to, definitely do so. It's an eye-opener.